Welcome back to the Watch List. I'm Oliver Renick in for Nicole Petalides. Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange, where our friends of Charles Schwab are ringing the closing bell at the NYSE today. I'm a little bit jealous. They're celebrating the launch of the Schwab Trading Activity Index, the updated and fresh, enhanced version of what you might know as the old TD Ameritrade IMX survey. Something to watch, traders, investors, on sentiment. Joining us, James Kostulias is the Managing Director, Head of Trading Services at Charles Schwab. James, great to see you again. How's everything going over there?
Hey, Oliver, it's great to see you again, too. Going really well here at the NYSE. We miss you as well here.
Hey,
Wish you were here.
Don't get too loud later when you guys close it, because I'm going to be doing market on close, and sometimes it gets a little noisy. So, but this is pretty cool because the IMX, which a lot of people have followed for a long time, and we've talked about here on the show for a long time, of course, is now getting a fresh update with all the trading groups together.
Exactly right, Oliver. We've been doing this since 2013 over on the Ameritrade side and are super excited to launch the rebranded Schwab Trading Activity Index, including the volumes of all of the combined clients, which is great. And this is the first inaugural one.
So what's it going to be measuring? How does it differ from what we had before in the IMX?
Yeah, so the methodology is very, very similar. What it measures is actual client behaviors as opposed to just sentiment, which we love. I think it was November I was here chatting with you a little bit about the trader sentiment survey, which is based on what clients are telling us. This is actually based on activity, right? And so this looks at a combination of client buys and sells, as well as an analysis of client holdings, long side, short side, held in cash, held versus marginable, so how levered they are, and ultimately gets us to the index, which we track over time and really helps us understand what clients are actually doing. Are they net buyers and sellers is a key component of it, but really it's really important to understand sort of client activity month over month as we can continue to look at. And so we went back all the way to 2019 when the Schwab and Ameritrade merger started, and now is sort of the first launch of the new rebranded index.
Right now, 44.56, up from 43.6. So I guess the first part of the question is, as the number goes up, does that generally mean more confidence in the market, i.e. bullishness? And then two, just kind of take us through how the numbers work.
Yeah, exactly right. So the trend indicates a bullishness from our clients, right? And it's a small little leap, but what it's indicating is they are essentially more bullish than they were last month, which we think is ultimately important. Since 2019, when we went and sort of have been tracking the combined index, the range typically falls between a 35 and a 75. Oliver, and so 35 sort of at the height of the pandemic lows, and then up a little north of 75 back in November of 2021. And so we're on the low to moderate scale here in terms of the net 44.5 score we see here, but the trend indicates to us that our clients are feeling a bit more bullish here. To your question of sort of how it's calculated, we look at a combination of net buys and sells across the client base. And important to note, that's net buyers and sellers in terms of people, not necessarily dollars. And so this month we actually have a slight difference in what the index is telling us and what the dollar amounts tell us. So the index tells us a little bit more buyers than sellers. The notional value of the dollars traded is a little bit higher on the sell side. We think it's really important, though, is the place to be for the retail trader and the retail investor, looking at the absolute number of folks versus just the dollar amounts tells us, more people are feeling a bit more bullish than bearish in total.
It's interesting because with the number of people and then the dollar amount, you kind of get two different ways to look at markets, which is almost like a narrative perspective, how many people are feeling a certain way, and then the dollar, I guess, kind of gives you an idea of where maybe a more institutional style investor is thinking, someone who's moving bigger money around?
Yeah, I was thinking exactly that. It's a great example you use. If you look back where there are times where maybe, big institutional players are making bets and you've got a lot of other people lining up on the same side, you may have one person or one institution that feels really, really strongly about the market, but a lot of other people feel strongly. They just don't have the dollars to sort of show it. So we purposely use the net buyer and seller within the index, but also talk about the dollar amount as well, because we think in conjunction both are useful.
All right. And any names? I see some of them here, popular stocks. I mean, it seems like a lot of this, I would expect like an NVIDIA, Microsoft, which just overtook Apple, but a few surprising ones in there, like Pfizer, way down near the lows.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. Apple being on the net seller side is probably a little bit surprising. Is historically that's been sort of one of the darlings and sort of one of the most held stocks here. So I do think that one is interesting. I also think it's interesting to look at sort of the sector analysis that we see here, where you see clients were a bit more bearish on technology, but you see some of the big technology names on the net buyer side, right? With you mentioned NVIDIA and you mentioned Microsoft, then you got Block thrown in there on the bearish side. So I think, again, what we really find interesting about this is it's behavioral based and not sentiment based. And so when we hear clients maybe sort of say something, or we hear different bits of feedback, maybe a little bit different from what's actually happening with their actual dollar. So we think this, in conjunction with the quarterly trader sentiment survey, really tells a nice holistic picture.
All right. Definitely helpful to kind of try and suss out the reality from the talk. Where does the money go versus where the mouth has been and what you kind of hear. So any information is going to be useful from me from a narrative standpoint. Talk about what happens in the market, and I imagine that also folks kind of include this into their macro analyses. Like the IMX used to get cited all the time from surveys. So there's utility for this as well for those assessing their kind of market view.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, Oliver. We think clients will love it, and if you're a user of Thinkorswim, you can pull it up in the actual platform and you can do some analysis there. We've talked to a bunch of other media outlets today who definitely see value in understanding what the retail trader is actually doing, and then probably some value in the academic circles as well. And so we look to continue to talk about it, continue to enhance it over time. It's something we're super excited about as part of the broader Schwab Trading Powered by Ameritrade value proposition.
All right, great stuff. Thanks, James, for the latest here.
Thanks as always, Oliver.
Sure thing. Looking forward to following along with it. Stacks. All right. I like it. Important to keep the X in there. James Kostulias, Managing Director and Head of Trading Services at Charles Schwab.